Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Childhood Finds. Thank you for joining me for this flatware video. Today I'm going to be going over a lot I bought of flatware and a little bit about how I'm going to put it into listings and how I'm going to make money from it. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I list the items and also about how to identify patterns, things like that. And just to give an idea of how much I've made on flatware and why I like it is I don't have a ton listed right now, because I only started sourcing flatware to resell maybe a year and a half ago, probably a year. I think it's been about a year. And so I'm still building up my inventory and learning, but just in the last 30 days, so from February 12th to March 12th, I have made $211.21. And that is the sale price of these items. It's not including shipping, but it's also not including fees or how much I paid getting taken out. But that's an idea of how much I made just in a month of selling some used old flatware. And I don't have a ton of listings of them, but I really enjoy selling flatware. And this is not an all-encompassing video. It's just to kind of give you a start, to kind of start to do your own research. Maybe in the future I can do research videos on different flatware brands to look for. Just a couple to look for, just to, if you really want to start going out there, you can look at International Silver Co. So those ones typically have an IS stamp, and also there's different brands that will be encompassed within that. So kind of looking for that brand. Not all of them are going to be super valuable, but something to get started with. The biggest brand to look for if you're wanting to get started is Oneida. I have sold a ton of Oneida for really good money. I have sold 4 dinner forks for $50, things like that. And I also am going to show you a really good one I sold for some iced teaspoons. So Oneida is absolutely one you want to be looking for. There's also Cambridge. I found and sold some of those as well. Reed and Burton, Gorham. Ones that I also look for things that are made in Japan. So there'll be different vintage brands that were made in Japan. They're typically the brands that they weren't super big runs of them. And they're vintage. They're vintage style that people remember from their childhood and maybe want to replicate. So vintage made in Japan brands I have found do well. And then those are the main ones. You can also look for others like Gorham. I found that even I think it was a Cuisinart one I found that seemed to be valuable. So just look for ones that have a name on the back to give you a base. Things I don't grab are ones that just say made in China or anything like that, made in Taiwan, ones that feel really flimsy. I don't pick those up. They're either ones that are copying other brands or just your basic $20 Walmart pickups. And that's not to say that there isn't ones they sell at Walmart that are good to look for, but I am not going to look at the ones that don't have any sort of basis for me to look for. But again, Oneida is my biggest one. If you want to get started, guys, look at Oneida. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I lot them up, things to consider. Sometimes selling a full lot, if you actually have full place settings, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12 of everything you need and serving utensils, it might behoove you to sell that in a set. But most of the time when I pick these up, I'm finding 5 forks and 4 place spoons. I'm finding a single butter knife. I'm finding remnants of a set that someone had. And that's why I really got into doing replacement sets. And people are looking for them, guys. People are looking for these, and you can make good money off of them. And now I'm going to show you a little bit about how I find the patterns. So a couple ways just to start are, you could, if it's something that's not super popular or it's not as prolific as like Oneida, you can look on eBay and just type in what it says on the back, whether it says like Oneida USA. Type that in on eBay and start looking and compare. You could try the picture feature on Oneida, on eBay, and try to take a picture and see if they can match. You can also use Google Lens, and that's a great tool for anything, guys. Google Lens is always going to be one of your friends that you should keep in your reseller pouch if you resell, and that can be valuable. But I have found through and through the biggest chance I have of finding a pattern is if I use replacements.com. They actually have a picture feature So you can take a picture of it, and then they almost always find it. I have had very little instances where it really struggled to help me. And if it really struggles to help you, you can also go and look by brand and then just scroll through all the pages and drive yourself a little batty. There's 26 pages of Oneida last time I had to look through that. So, fun fact. And that is the way you can do it. But the picture feature is a lifesaver. It will make you so happy to use that. And this is also useful if you're a person that just collects and wants to fill out a pattern you have, but you don't quite know how to find that pattern. Because, you know, it's hard when you just have a couple flowers on it. It's hard to know how to look it up. So replacements.com is going to be your best friend. I am now going to show a video of me actually looking some up that I had for, I'm just going to warn you guys, I had to screen record on my phone. So it has to be in the vertical format. So it's not in this nice format where it's going to be easy to see. You might have to, you know, zoom in a little or pay a little more closer attention to be able to see it, because it's going to be in that vertical format that you use for like TikToks and Reels and things like that. But I'm going to show you two of them that I look up and find pattern names on, and I hope this can help you. And then after that, I'm just going to quickly go over a lot that I picked up and how I pieced it out. And then after that, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to identify soup spoons, teaspoons, cocktail forks, etc. And then a little bit about the ones that I have sold recently in the lot I picked up. So let's get started on looking at replacements.com. I wanted to give a little side note of something I did not talk about, but I wanted to say something to consider also with flatware, if you want to get into it though, is most of them tend to be long tail. What I mean by long tail is usually 6 months or more to sell it. It's an item that tends to sit. It's not something that's going to have a high sell through for most of the time. And so it's an item that will sit. It's also an item that sells best when you're going up towards Christmas and Thanksgiving time, because that's when a lot of people are filling out sets and adding to sets. So also just a quick note to consider if you want to sell flatware. So here is a look of everything I picked up at one thrift store, and I am pretty excited about it. I definitely got some looks when I bought all this. There was much judgment, but you know what? This is how I feed my family doing this. So I'm going to do it. And also, I picked up a lot of sets. I only have this little pile over here that managed to be mismatched. One thing I want to caution you when you're looking at sets, knives tend to be harder because a lot of times, let's see if this one has it, they do not have the name on it. So you really have to hope to get the knives when you find the pattern. So I know this one's Oneida because I have the Oneida other ones here. So on the back is where you can see your information that you're going to need. So stainless by Oneida Limited Deluxe. So I know the pattern of the knives because I found them with these, but otherwise knives can be a little bit harder. And then I'll go over a couple ways that I look up patterns. because having pattern names is going to make all the difference. Because if you put this up and you go, Oneida swirls, it is not going to sell for what it could if you have the pattern name, because that's how a lot of people are looking them up. Not always. Sometimes you're just not going to have it, but it helps. But over here, I have a set of Oneida. This one's Traditions USA, and I believe it's a Sears and Roebuck with knives. This one is Cambridge, and then we have Oneida here. And then this one was Rogers, I believe. Yeah, Rogers. And these, I think, are Oneida, the cocktail spoons. I think they're cocktail spoons. I can't remember right now. Yep, these ones are Oneida as well, stainless. And then Oneida and Oneida. Oneida is an awesome brand to pick up. I love finding it. I was tickled pink when I found all these. So how I'm going to lot these up, typically, there's a couple different ways I would. If a lot of 8 is worth only about $10 to $15, I'm going to lot them as 8, if I have 8. If they're worth 10 to 15 and lots of 4, I'm lotting them by 4s. Also keep in mind, typically where most of your money is are the forks. Your dinner forks and your salad forks are going to have the most value, typically. Ooh, look, a dog hair. That's nice, guys. So those are going to where your money is going to be, and then typically your spoons come next. I have found that knives tend to be less valuable. I'm not an expert at this, so I can't always say that for sure, but I have found that to be typical. Also, it's worth it to look if you have a full set to see if a full set's going to sell best by itself. Other things to keep in mind, if I have like this set here, I have a single dinner fork. If this can't sell by itself for like $8 to $10, I'm going to probably lot it with my salad forks. So sometimes, or if you have 2 and they don't sell for at least 10 typically, I'll try to lot like 2 salads and 2 dinner forks. That has worked for me in the past. Otherwise, I'll just put 4 salad forks and a dinner fork. That's mostly so that I'm not just getting rid of it. It's going to find a home and find a use, and we're not just throwing it away. So I will do that sometimes as well. You can also make place settings. I haven't personally done this because I tend to go with the lots of 4. But say, like right here, if I had 1 extra of each of these, I'd make a place setting. And that would be great. I have seen those sell for really good money. You know, 1 knife, 1 salad fork, 1 dinner fork, 1 teaspoon, 1 soup spoon. That tends to go over really well also. So that's another way to keep in mind. And again, like here, I only have 2 teaspoons and 2 soup spoons. I'm going to probably lot those in a lot of 4 together, unless they're worth about $10 for a lot of 2. Then I'm going to lot them like that. Other things also is I always box. I'm not going to put this fork in a poly mailer and hope for the best, because these tines on this fork are going to get bent. Other things to look for when you're looking at silverware, I am going to get rid of ones like this. If you can see it, there is chipping on the end. No one wants that. They're typically replacing their silverware if it's like that. You could always try and just throw it in, and then maybe they can fix it, but I personally will not sell them like that, because that's going to hurt someone. That looks painful. This one's sharp. You can feel it. I run my finger across. You can feel this one. This one would hurt. So that's another thing that I do. So how I'm going to do my listing is I tend to set them up in their nice little picture-esque look here. And I take a picture of the front. I close up on the top, close up on the bottom. This will help show any scratching, things like that. Signs of use that are just cosmetic, but not, you know, it's just typical. And then I'll do the back of them, all 4, and do the top and the bottom again. And then I try to do a close-up of the brand. And then lastly, I do size and put it by a ruler. Next, what I do is I take one of my 6x9 bags, typically. Sometimes the knives won't fit there. And then I wrap them up in that bag. And then I take one of my numbers. I'll put this down in the description. You don't need to use these. You can just write on them. I have just found that it has saved, it is just one extra little thing that I can use to just tape this shut, and I have just really enjoyed using these. So this is an idea, or just use the number system, or however you do it. You can also have little drawers. I don't have a great system right now for my silverware, so I use the numbers so I can find them easy. So I would just take this next number, tape it on. Ooh, one-handed, this is gonna be fun, guys. This video is rough, but it'll give a general idea. And then I will just tape it on the bag, and then I will put it into where I have all my other flatware stored. And then I'll be able to find it easy-ish when I go to ship it if it sells. The first thing we're gonna look at here is how to identify which type of item you have. So there are 5 main ones that you're typically gonna find out there, and those are the main ones I wanna talk about. I've sold the other ones, but these are the ones that are gonna be more prevalent out there. And that's gonna be your salad fork. Your salad fork's always gonna be more petite than your dinner fork. I know that online it says that there's a typical size for each of these, but a lot of times you just need to go in and look at the patterns and look at the sizes. Replacements.com will tell you sizes, but it's hard to do a base, because I've had salad forks that are 6 inches and I've had salad forks that are 7 inches and a quarter. So it can differ by brand and style. So keep that in mind. I also will look on eBay listings, and I'll find ones that also include a ruler in them to help me identify which one I have, but you can usually tell, especially if you pick up a lot of them. So the first one, the smaller fork, is going to be your salad fork that you'll typically find. Next is going to be your dinner fork. Most of the times your dinner and your salad forks are going to be a little bit more valuable for you. Then you're going to have your dinner knife. A lot of people might call this a butter knife, but a butter knife is actually different looking in most pattern sets. So this is your dinner knife. Then you're going to have your bigger spoon, your tablespoon, your place spoon, your oval soup spoon. It has quite a few different names for you, but it's your tablespoon, your dinner spoon. That's mainly what they're called. Then the smaller spoon you usually find is called your teaspoon. And those are the 5 main ones that you're going to typically find out there. Here's just a couple extra ones. These are going to be your cocktail forks, and they typically look like this on the top and have these longer bodies down, longer skinnier bodies down here. So cocktail forks, I haven't found many cocktail forks that are super valuable in patterns, but again, I haven't found that many, so I can't speak to that completely. Then you have your iced teaspoons. I know in my previous video where I was showing you my lot, my brain just gave out and I called them cocktail spoons or something. You probably were screaming at the screen. They're iced teaspoons. I do know that in the recesses of my mind, and I've sold them before, but I wanted to look silly, and that's fine. So iced teaspoons, though I'm going to show you ones that I sold for really good money, but usually I found these aren't super valuable compared to the other ones. So not typically going to be more valuable than your forks, but I proved that wrong here in a minute. Then you're going to have your demi-tasse spoon. So that's going to be your tablespoon, your teaspoon, and then your demi-tasse spoon is tiny and adorable. I don't find these very often, but they're out there. And then here's what your butter knife will typically look like, a typical style of a butter knife. You can also kind of see a good depiction right down here. So that's why I don't like to put butter dinner knife or anything in my replacement titles, because it's not technically what it is in the setting. So then let's look at a few I've just sold in the last week and a half or 2 weeks since I listed all of them that I showed you in that lot. And that's going to be this first one. This is Oneida USA Stainless Unity Salad Forks set lot of 4. And I had 12 actually of the salad forks, and I just decided to lot them up into 4, 4, and 4 because of the value. I actually, because I'm moving, I'm taking a lot more offers. So these I actually sold for $13.50, but the buyer also bought a second lot of them for $13.50. So that was a good little sale, just $27 for 8 salad forks, guys. Like, come on. And a lot of times you're finding flatware quite cheap. I got these at a thrift store and paid about 15 to 20 cents a piece. Then I'm going to have this one that's the Sears Lakewood Traditions USA set of 3 dinner forks. I put Oneida pattern too. Technically this is Oneida. It's just within the Oneida brand. But I just decided to write it that way. I wanted to make sure Oneida was in the title because this is an Oneida pattern. And these sold along with this one. And this is Sears Lakewood Traditions USA set of 6 salad forks. And the buyer bought both of those for $27.90 total. And so that's 8 forks, 3 dinner forks, and 5 salad forks for $27.90. I think that's great, guys. I love it. How I ship these is I don't want to ship these in poly mailers personally. I'm sure some of them would be fine. Like I'm sure shipping knives would be fine in a bubble or poly mailer depending on how you pack it in there. But I do tend to do boxes. What I will typically get is I have 10 4 boxes I get from Staples that I like. Yes, I do have to do some void filling, but I'll just use, you know, free newspaper or something like that I've gotten and void fill it as long as it doesn't bump me up into the next pound bracket or ounce bracket. I will use the 10 4 boxes, or I will take a 4 6 4 box and I will half it on both sides and then squish it back to make it longer. That works out. Or you can use an 8 6 4 box as well. So yes, I don't have an ideal box for shipping these, but when I can, I like to put them in a box because I feel like that's the best presentation to the buyer and the safest way it's going to make it to them. Knives I maybe would consider putting in a bubble mailer, but I still tend to put those in my boxes as well, especially because I tend to not list any of these if they're less than $10. So 30 to 50 cents for a box. You have to find what works best for your business. I'm sure many people have shipped these in different ways that are better and more cost effective. This is just what I do for right now. And then this one was purchased by a separate buyer, and it's Sears Roebuck Tradition USA Lakewood set of 4 dinner knives, and again, Oneida pattern, sold for $11 on a best offer for 4 knives. And then these are the iced teaspoons that I was not expecting this, because I remember picking these up last in the thrift store and going, I guess, because typically I don't really look at iced teaspoons because I found so many in patterns that aren't really that valuable. So you're always learning, guys. I was. And this is an Oneida Dover stainless steel 6 iced teaspoons set lot. Sold for a best offer of $70 in, I think it was a day or two. And I have like $1 into this lot. So great. And then we have one more. And so I talked about in the video that I would likely lot the soup and teaspoons together, but it ended up being that these soup spoons were worth $14 by themselves. So I put as a lot of 2. And this is Oneida USA Unity Dinner Soup Place Spoons Stainless Flatware set of 2. And sold for $14. Just a side note onto my 10 4 boxes also, I have found as well that those are really good with the cubic shipping on eBay if you purchase your label through eBay. I have shipped ones that are 2 pounds in the 10 4 box, and they still are the same rate as the 1 pounder. So something to keep in mind as well, you might save yourself or your buyer on shipping too using that box. And so those are some that I've sold, and just some information about flatware. Again, I guess I should have talked about it too. You should always pick up sterling flatware, guys, if you can find it for cheap. But I didn't really talk about that because what we're typically going to find are your silver plates, your stainless. Those are what you're finding a lot out in the wild. So thank you for joining me for this video. And if you've made any great flatware sales, please put that down in the comments before. I would love to hear that from you. And otherwise, I will see you guys on the next video.